welcome back to your Bachelorette recap. I'm Elena.
I'm Amanda.
Today we are covering episode 5, or
Week 5.
Week 5,
Part
1. Episode starts off with just like basically a flashback from last week. Kenny's pulling Lee aside. They're in their little argument. Quickly changes to Brian and Rachel talking. They're just basically confessing to each other like, I think you're too good to be true. I think you're too good to be true. And Brian's like, we're perfect then. And then goes back to Kenny and Lee. This is when they actually start arguing, and Lee's just kind of like interrupting him the whole time, and Kenny's like, now wait a second, let me talk, and he's trying to stay calm, and Lee ends up just walking away. After that, this was all during like the after group rose. Like, it's kind of hard to think back because we ended on a group date last week, but the group date rose went to Brian, which I think it is because they had like that one-on-one conversation must have stood out to her where they're like, you're too perfect. So he got the group date rose.
She's into him for sure.
Oh yeah, it's all over her face.
Yeah.
Afterwards, when Brian gets the rose and Rachel's out of the room, Kenny's like, good on you, Brian, you know.
Much respect.
Yeah, you're doing it the right way. You're not a snake. You're not being sneaky at all. And, you know, basically calling Lee out. And Lee's like, fuck you. And he's just like, okay, whatever. And they all start, you know, scattering, leaving the room. And Lee says, I'm just here to mess with everybody. And we were like, okay, so you're literally saying you're not here for Rachel at this point, because this is all what he's doing. He just keeps messing with people.
Which you can tell. I mean, when did they, like, really have...
Right. I'm like, did this happen off camera? Because it doesn't even seem like they have a connection.
And Lee, he's just like, I'm in their heads.
Yeah, you know? He's just so into fighting with everybody. I love smiling at a man who's mad. Like, just chill out.
So then is the one-on-one with Jack.
From last week.
Yeah.
That we didn't get to.
So he finally had his one-on-one, and they took kind of like a horse carriage ride through the town. So they're driving down this road, and there's a bunch of old houses that just look beautiful. They're kind of like old southern looking houses, or like New Orleans kind of.
Yeah, it did look like New Orleans.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Anyways, they're going down, and Jack goes, I think these houses are haunted.
And Rachel goes, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, she's like, what makes you think that?
What makes you think?
Can you see something? And he's like, no, just, they're so old, and I just think that's where that happens. And she's like, no.
This
I
date
don't think so.
was so awkward.
I mean, you can just tell she is not into him. He's super into her.
Oh, yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah, she was even talking beforehand, like, I feel like on paper we're a really good match, like, we have some things in common, but I don't know, when they were talking, it's just like, ugh, do you have things in common?
Yeah, because she's like, we have so many things in common. We're lawyers, we live in Dallas, and I'm like,
personality-wise, though, I don't think so.
But anyways, after that, they stopped at this place where there was dance lessons going on, and not just any regular like ballroom dancing or anything like that. It was called shag dancing.
Yeah, they were shagging.
Well, they were trying. So they were learning to do the shag dance, and
learning to do the shag dance.
I'm sorry. So, okay, anyways, yeah, they're trying to learn that, and so he's looking down the entire time that they're dancing, and she's just looking at him like,
Just remembering it makes me
he's looking down the whole time, and she's just not feeling it because she's like,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
She wanted to experience like a romantic side to him. You know, she said they'd get along, but was there really a romantic connection? You know?
So afterwards, they walk out, and they're walking along. I don't know if they were on.
They were on like a dock or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he wants to kiss her.
Oh my God.
This is the most awkward part of the entire episode.
It was so hard to watch.
So, if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. You might not be able to watch it. It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch. So, he's telling her, like, I don't know if you noticed that I was staring at you the whole time. And I'm thinking, what didn't we see? Because he was looking down the whole time. But, so he's like, you're just so beautiful, and, just going on and on about her.
She's like not even into it. She's like,
she's just,
okay.
They're kind of like holding hands.
She's like trying to smile at him.
They're kind of apart from each other, and he goes in to kiss her, and you see that she's not really feeling it. So they just kind of like peck, and he keeps wanting to go back for more, and she's like, no, you're going to get sick. Apparently she's sick. I don't know.
I don't know.
But she kept saying, you'll get sick. You'll get sick. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, that's okay. And she's like, no, you'll get sick. It was so awkward. So awkward. Yeah. So, you could tell then it was like, it was over.
Yeah.
For
we didn't even have to get to dinner.
So then they show a scene back at the house where Will and Lee are talking about Kenny.
And basically, Will and Lee are discussing, like, the whole issue with Kenny, and Will brings up, like, well, you called him aggressive, and I understand where he's coming from, that he's upset with you, and he's like, when you call a black man aggressive, there's like a certain history to that. He was trying to make Lee understand that. I don't know if he did, because Lee just doesn't listen to anybody, but Will was basically trying to reason with Lee, like, Kenny, like, probably doesn't want to be called aggressive or come across that way, and yeah.
After that, it goes back to Jack and Rachel, and they're sitting at dinner, and he is just giving the creepiest looks with his eyes. Now, I'm sorry, Jack, I'm sorry if I offend you, but that was creepy.
I don't know, maybe that was his love eyes, his bedroom eyes, you know? I don't know.
Don't do that in the bedroom. So anyways, he's just saying how they mash well together, and, he just thinks they're, good, and...
Yeah. Just, like, digging a hole when we know he's gonna go home.
He had said something about... she asked him, what would we do back in Dallas? What would we do? And he's like, well, what I would like to do is lock the door.
We're like, okay, wait a minute.
He's like, this is going to sound creepy, but I would lock the door. And I'm thinking, damn, what is he going to do?
What are you doing after that, Jack?
He would lock the door, and, they would lay down and just talk, and, then it cuts to Rachel, like,
yeah,
I don't want to do that.
That's a big thing for her. Like, she likes getting out and doing things. She doesn't want to just come home and, like, lay down and talk, and especially since she wasn't feeling that connection with Jack.
I want to know, how come you got to lock the door to lay down and talk?
I feel like he was going to go a different way with that, but he decided, like, oh, I'll bring you back. We are going to talk in bed.
We'll talk. She said that, she enjoyed the time with him, and he's a really nice guy, but she's not feeling it romantically, and so Jack got the boot.
We are saying goodbye to Jack.
Which we kind of thought last week it was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone saw it coming when Jack got a one-on-one. After he went home, it kind of showed Rachel, and she's, having her little interview type thing, her little video diary. And she's saying, like, it kind of put things into perspective for me, like, what I want. And I'm going to cancel the cocktail party again.
But I don't need it.
Yeah, she's like, I know who I'm going to send home.
Can I just say, that dress she had on tonight?
Ooh, beautiful.
My God.
I loved it. Like, the way it cut through with, like...
It was, like, all the way up the
Yeah,
hip.
and then it had, like, decals kind of, like, keeping it together. And it was so pretty. I know, I was like, can I have that? So we cut to the rose ceremony, and Brian and Dean already have their roses, so they're safe for this week. And the rest that stayed is Eric, Peter, Adam, Will, Matt, Alex, Josiah, Anthony, and then Kenny and Lee. So the people left.
I wrote this down. Before Adam got picked, he was saying how, he was hoping he was going to stay around because she only got a snack. He wants to give her the full kitchen. And I'm like, I've never heard that before. But okay. So I thought that was funny. I wanted to mention that.
Oh, no, you're fine. So the people who left are Iggy and Jonathan.
The tickle monster.
Yeah.
Which I have to say, I've been giving him a lot of crap because I just didn't get it. But when he left, he was like really gracious, and he was just like, one more for the road, and she puts her arms up to give him a hug, and he goes in on her waist and tickles her, and everybody just starts laughing, and I was like, okay.
Iggy, since he was just like the one who just kept telling Rachel, like, oh, this guy and this guy, he's like, I kind of regret doing that because that's probably why I'm going home. I didn't get enough time to, like, talk to her.
Yeah, so he was upset, but he said that he learned so much about himself.
Yeah. So, next stop is Oslo, Norway. And the first date there, she meets up with the guys, and she's like, I'm going to do the one-on-one right now, and with Brian. And we know she's feeling Brian. Like, I was like, dang, he got, like, a one-on-one, and he just got the group rose, and, like, she's feeling him.
For sure.
She was talking about how she wants more of, like, an emotional connection with him because it has been, like, very physical, and she just wants to get on, like, a deeper level with him during this date. And they went to...
Well, before they left... I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no.
Before they left, after she chose Brian, little Dean, sitting in the back, he was like... I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't come back. If he goes home and all the guys are like, what?
Guys don't know what's going on there, honestly. I was like,
Dean.
You can hope, Dean. It's okay. So, during their date, their main thing, they went to an Olympic ski jump.
It was huge.
Huge.
They went up like this elevator, just going like...
Yeah, we were like, oh my god.
I was like, hell to the nah. I don't think so. It was 187 feet.
No.
And they were going to rappel down it.
No.
I don't think so. And so she's getting all her stuff on, and she's like...
She's wanting to back out.
Yeah, she is terrified. And she's like, does anybody else get the meaning of 187? She's like, of course it's 187. And one of the producers is like, well, what does that mean? And she's like, because she's a lawyer, she's like, it means murder. So she's terrified.
She's freaking out. I feel like Brian was probably freaked out too, but he put on a brave face, and they were like kissing halfway down, and
yeah, he's like, okay, let's kiss, and she's like, no. He's like, kiss, and so they did, and
so loud.
He's like, I'm like, is he eating a sandwich or?
So they got down safely. They survived. And she said that she's really glad that he kind of went with her, and that made her feel better about the experience.
They did cut to the house again.
Yeah, they kept going back and forth.
It was Eric and Anthony. They were talking, and Eric's like, I just don't think she's wanting to date us brothers. I just don't think she's, feeling it. Because he's like, how many of us have actually gotten a one-on-one? Well, Anthony got a one-on-one, so he was like, you're the only one. And Anthony was saying that, no, that's not it. We're not all like just that. Interchangeable, He's like, if she's feeling somebody, then she's feeling somebody. So then it goes back to them having dinner.
So this is when Rachel's wanting to have more of an emotional connection at this point because the fun part's over and now it's time to talk. I think she just kind of goes into, she's like, maybe he'll open up if I open up a little bit. So she starts talking about how, her older sister was so pretty and everyone just loved her, and she just felt like, the younger sister,
she was the
cool one. And she said she didn't really start getting a lot of attention until, college. Mm-hmm. And then Brian's like, oh, I can relate to that. And she's like, I don't believe you. But he starts saying, I was super skinny and I didn't get any attention till my senior year of high school. And so they connected on that a little bit.
He was saying how he never wants to leave her with things unsaid.
Right.
Basically.
So she always knows, where he's at. Yeah. What he's feeling.
And so he tells her that he is falling in love with her. Which
is pretty early on, but we feel like they have such a strong connection that it's okay with Rachel at this point. She was cheesing.
She was cool with it.
She was super happy about that. So.
Yeah, she's like, I like him. I like him a lot.
Yeah, she's like, a lot. So that went pretty well.
And then they had another makeout session after that, I believe.
And then he, of course, got the rose. After they're finished with dinner and everything, it cuts to the guys getting the group date card, listing off everybody. Adam, Dean, Anthony, Peter, Josiah, Eric, Matt, Will, and Alex, which leaves Kenny and Lee. So everybody was like, looks like you guys are going on a 2-on-1. And then they just talk some more about how they don't know what's gonna happen with Brian tonight, and ooh, who knows, maybe he won't come back. And I think it's just because Brian doesn't talk to them. The rest of the guys, they're like, this is where me and Rachel are at. I feel like Brian doesn't really socialize that much. He doesn't involve himself. He's just focused on Rachel, which is how it should be.
So then the 2-on-1, when Lee and Kenny find out about, them being on the 2-on-1, Lee is basically like, the 2-on-1 rose is more important than a 1-on-1 rose. He was just
yeah, he's just taking it as a competition. And
so the men go to their group date and they walk into this gymnasium, and there's these guys playing handball, which I'd never heard of.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Alex, he walks in and he's like, look at these Vikings. They're
huge.
7 feet tall. He's like, I hope we don't have to play against them.
Yeah, they were looking so scared. I think they thought we're going to have to play against them.
Mm-hmm. And Alex and Will actually have played a little bit of handball before. So, they were like, okay, maybe I can show her that, I can do this. Well, they weren't too bad. They were in 2 teams. There was one time Peter picked up Rachel and Josiah, he was the goalie. And every time Rachel would go to make a goal, he would block it. He blocked it every time. And she's like, I want to remember this. And he's like, maybe if I block all of them, she'll like remember this, and I'll be noticed and whatever. And it cuts to Peter and Rachel, and Peter picks her up. And Josiah's like, man, that Peter just got a handful of ass. He's like, I wish that was me.
Yeah.
Why didn't I do something?
I saw Peter. That handball looked really hard, though. Like, they were getting intense. Handball is a combination, apparently, of football, basketball, and water polo. And they're just running and just slam it into the net, and it was scary.
So they come out wearing these tight leotard
Uniform things.
uniforms. I mean, they're shorts, kind of like
wrestling. Yeah.
I didn't notice until after a while. I'm like, I look up and I'm like, is Dean wearing a diaper? I go, what's going on? He had his jock strap on the outside. He was the only one who had it.
And no one addressed it, really. So we were
I'm like, somebody please talk about that. Like,
so we don't know if he was just, like, uncomfortable wearing it, so he did it on the outside, or...
I can get it. Men being, like, you know, I don't want to put...
that on my junk.
Somebody else's there, so I'm going to put it on the outside.
I'm assuming that's what happened.
So, the game's over, and they pan over. And, of course, who you think's there? Just one guess. It's everybody's favorite little dude. Favorite little doll, Adam Jr. And you know, he's cheering him on.
I love those little cameos they do.
It does crack me up now.
I didn't see it at first, but then you could tell they were like zooming in. I was like, there he is! You see him?
After that, they have their group after
party.
And
all the conversations are going great. You know, Rachel's like, I really feel like I'm making progress with like a lot of these guys, and she goes, those words, I don't feel like anything could go wrong. And that's like the most jinxing statement you can make. So right after she says, I don't think that anything could go wrong, it shows a clip of her and Josiah going to sit down, and he's just like sweet talking her like he always does, and not really saying much of anything, you know, like, you're beautiful, and
she's great.
You're so great. Yeah. And she's like, she basically says, you know, got anything else to say?
Yeah, she was
pretty much.
You know, she wanted him to ask questions about her to get to know her, and she's like, you know, I don't want you just to go off of magazines and things that you've read about me. And he's like, oh, you're so smart.
Yeah, and then he just goes back to saying, you're so amazing, you know that? Like, she just told you to, like, come up with something else.
And he's like, you're the woman of my dreams.
Oh my gosh.
And she just kind of seemed a little put off.
Yeah, her smile kind of turned into, like, a worried look, like, oh.
Well, because, okay, so before they start talking, and he goes into all this, you're great, and you're the woman of my dreams, and we should be together, he tells about his father telling his mother when they first met, like on their second date.
Like, God put you in my life, and we need to get married. Basically.
And he says something about that being crazy, and she was like, yeah.
She's like, yes, that is.
Yeah, I would think that too. And then right after that, he's like,
you're the woman of my dreams.
Yeah, we're meant to be. We're meant to be. And she's just kind of like, did you not hear me?
Oh.
Did you not hear me?
I said that shit was crazy. So now she's kind of like, and we thought Josiah was about to go home then and there. Because you kind of saw on her face that maybe she wasn't feeling it. But no, it just switched to another scene. After he left, Peter came in. And they had the longest segment of this after party.
Oh my gosh. So you would have thought that Peter had won some kind of special time or something with her because
they got the hot tub.
They like went up into this room and they were talking, and then they went out to the balcony and they were talking, and he's like, I really want to kiss you, and she's like, well, come on, do it. And so they're kissing, and he's like, I just want to kiss you. That's all I want to do. And she's like, so, okay. And he's like, but, we need to get to know each other. And, we need...
It was so nice.
And I forget who brought up the hot tub. I think it was her. She's like, well, do you want to move it to the hot tub? And he's like, okay. So I
was like, there's always a hot tub nearby.
Yeah. So they get into the hot tub, and then it just shows them making out.
Yeah.
Like, for like the longest time, they're just in there making out. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, where are all the other guys?
It looked like a one-on-one date.
I'm like, wait a minute, they're on their group after date thing. And I'm like, what? So then they awkwardly, it seemed awkward to me when Peter walked in.
Oh, yeah, everybody was
afterwards.
It's been like 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
where you guys
what
been?
Are you doing?
And he just kind of shuffled in and sat down.
And then Rachel comes in and sits in between the guys and picks up the rose. And you're like,
Peter has to get it.
Come on. That was just like,
Yeah.
That was hot and heavy.
Yeah, like there's no way Peter wouldn't get it, right? Wrong.
She comes out, she gives that rose to Will.
She gave it to Will!
And you could just see Peter like...
He was like, okay, now I'm starting to feel like she's not feeling what I'm feeling. Like, now I'm second guessing it.
Yeah, I'm like, ouch. Oh my god.
I can't believe that happened though. Like, I don't even...
It was right after.
And I don't even remember really what her and Will talked about. Like, I mean, they probably had a nice conversation because she said the night was going so well and everything, but like, it just seems so obvious to go for Peter.
He's like, I don't want to be a fool, fall in love with somebody who doesn't love me back.
Yeah, so
like
now he's
me,
feeling bad.
Rach, what you doing?
So before the 2-on-1, they show a scene of Kenny, and he is talking to his daughter on the phone because they allow phone calls or FaceTime with like children for the parents and stuff. And they're just talking, like about school, and she's like, well, I hope you have a good date, and he starts crying, and it was so hard not to cry. Yeah, and he's like, I miss you, and I was like, oh my gosh, my heart's like breaking. So he was crying, and then it showed a scene of Lee like working out in jeans and cowboy boots. And, reading a book on Norway, and it was just weird. That was them prepping to go on the date, I guess. So, the 2-on-1 comes up.
So there's a helicopter because they're going to go to an island. Because one, if not both, their asses are going to be left on the island.
They love leaving people on the island.
So they go, they land, and Rachel takes Kenny to go talk first.
She wants this date to basically be about like clarity of the whole situation and where she stands with both of them. So she talks to Kenny. She's like, what is this whole situation? How do you feel? Just talk to me.
He's like, I feel like we spend too much time talking about that.
Yeah.
But, this is
what I'll say. Yeah.
He's like, he just wants to get to know her and for them to start a relationship. He wants to leave all that stuff behind, but he's addressing it because she wants to.
Because it's kind of hard to move on when there is a drama and you don't talk about it, so they need to get past that in order to continue the relationship. So she talks to him and he feels really calm about it. He feels like they're, in a good place, and she's like, okay. So she goes and talks to Lee. And Lee is like, well, I'm going to do what I need to win, and it's about winning, and blah, 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 blah. And he just starts telling her how aggressive he is.
Trash talking him so bad. Saying he has a dark side.
Yeah, and he's like, especially when he drinks. And I'm like, is he calling him an alcoholic now? Seriously, all you guys drink.
Yeah, and he even said, Kenny told me that he had a dark side.
Yeah.
When he drinks.
Like, what?
Who's gonna
What are you saying?
confide in him that...
I got a dark side, man. Like...
Dude, I got a dark side.
Dude, when I drink, it gets crazy up in here.
He was basically just saying he's aggressive and that he tried pulling him out of a van.
Like, when the hell did that happen? That was a straight up lie. He was trying to get Kenny out of there. And Rachel's just like, what? And she's like, I just don't understand because I just talked to him. Lee's like, yeah, I mean, he tried doing that. He called me a bitch. He called me a snake. She's like, well, I didn't know about the calling you a bitch part. And Lee just has a way of talking that makes it seem like he's telling the truth, It makes him seem like he's being genuine, but he's not. He's making shit up. And she doesn't know what to believe because she can't see what we're seeing. She doesn't know exactly what's going on. It's taking somebody's word.
So their talk's over. She gets Kenny again, and she's like, look, this is what he's saying. He's saying that you've been violent, you're aggressive, you have a dark side, you pulled him out of a van. And he's like, what?
Yeah, he's like, oh, that's a straight up lie. He's lying to you.
Yeah, so basically that's all that there was to say about that, really. And so
yeah,
she's like, okay, well, I have a lot to think about. So they go their separate ways. He's walking down the hill and just laughing. He's like, what is, this dude?
Yeah.
He straight up lied, and he's just laughing. He's like, oh my God.
It kind of seemed like Rachel was almost on Lee's side, which, I mean, you can't blame her just because, like I said, she can't see what we see. And Lee does seem like if we only saw what he's showing to Rachel, we'd probably believe him too or something,
But, I mean, really, what has Kenny done wrong?
Yeah, I just don't understand, like, how he could just pull that out of his ass too, like ripping me out of a van. Like, when the hell did that happen? There's where we left off, and we're gonna have an episode tomorrow, so we're gonna watch that and do another video on that. But basically, I guess we'll just see how this 2-on-1 works itself out, and I don't know, I kind of think that both of them are gonna just be left on the island.
I know. She might just have had it.
Yeah.
Poor Kenny.
He didn't do anything wrong.
No.
Yeah. So, I just think that all the drama surrounding them, she's going to end up saying bye to both of them. But in the preview that we see, there's just so many tears, and she's saying, like, oh, it's not fair. He didn't do anything to deserve this. We don't know who she's talking about. But I don't know how it's gonna go.
I love Kenny.
I do too.
I love him, and I feel like Lee is just trampling him in his name, like...
Yeah, which I'd be pissed about that too.
Leave him alone, Lee.
Just making him look bad for no reason. Just because Lee looks at it as like a competition. That's all we have for you now. Stay tuned for the next video. And give us a like if you liked this recap. Subscribe.
Subscribe. Come back and watch more videos.
Watch part 2. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.